Well, hello to everybody here. It's Teresa Sanderson. Super excited to connect with you as always. Here we are for another episode of the Nurse Entrepreneur Spotlight, baby. And today we have with us a very special guest, Miss Farah Laurent. And so, Farah, thank you so much for sharing some time with us today.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to chatting with you today. And for those of you who don't know Farah, here's the scoop on who she is. Farah Laurent is shaking things up and changing the nursing game. She holds a master's degree in nursing education and is a certified badass with 6 board certifications. Farah is a nurse career coach and challenges nurses looking to level up in their career and stand out. She is truly an international nurse, and she has held various positions in emergency medicine, education, and leadership, both in Kansas and the U.S. Awesome. Farah is a fun and dynamic speaker, speaks at various nursing events and conferences. She empowers nurses to brag and swag in order to confidently land their dream position and or start their own coaching business. Farah is a proud member of the NNBA, that's the National Nurses in Business Association. I'm with you there. And she's beyond excited to be a speaker at the conference this August. So welcome, Farah.
Thank you so much, Teresa. This is such an honor to be here, and I'm so excited to meet you and to have this opportunity to share with everybody, what it is that we do as, as nurses and in business in this journey.
Love it. So, you and I were chatting a minute ago, and I think it's just really wonderful to connect with people that, we've chatted back and forth on LinkedIn. And, so today is actually that day that we get to connect in real time and actually learn more about each other, while at the same time meeting this massive goal that I have of just showing those aspiring nurse entrepreneurs the possibilities. So, for anybody out there who's wondering what is having a digital business all about, this is a lot of it. Being able to make these cool connections with people from around the country, around the world, and ultimately connect in real time and do some cool things together. So thank you again for joining me.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I've been following you and you do some great work. So thank you for highlighting, different nurses, so thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely. So Farah, we know what you're up to now, being this badass and all that stuff, but tell us, we're going to back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your history as a nurse. What kind of work have you done? What kind of settings have you worked in? That kind of thing.
Sure. So, I actually always tell this story on different social platforms, but I started my career in Canada. So I'm also Canadian as well. So in nursing school, I had a really interesting experience, as most do. I had some great clinical instructors, but of course you always have that one that, gives you a hard time. Yep. So she had asked me, Farah, what type of nurse do you want to be? And I said, well, I want to be an emergency nurse. And she just literally laughed in my face and was like, Farah, you'll never be an emergency nurse because you're too unorganized and you need to start in med surg. And I was like, what? And I was like, how can an educator say that, right, to a nursing student? So in my head, I was like, okay, lady, just watch me. And I was like, I will be a badass ER nurse and I'm going to get there and be one of the best ER nurses around. So of course I didn't listen to her.
Yeah,
I strategically positioned myself. So I actually got my last rotation in the ER, and I really made really good connections. And this one nurse, his name was Doug. He was like the joker of the ER. He's like, Farah, you should go apply, go to HR. I'll put in a good word for you. And I'm like, are you kidding? And he's like, no, I'm serious. So I did. And I actually got hired before I even graduated in the ER, right? So I was like, what was that again?
Yeah, you want to repeat that for me?
So, of course, I was like, I'm going to do what I want regardless. And nothing against med surg, but this is why I tell people, you have to follow what it is that you love to do because you don't want to be miserable. Yes. And you want to be able to serve and be excited to go to work. And that's what the ER did for me. I loved working in emergency medicine. So I did it for 5 years in Canada. Fast forward, I moved to New York. city to pursue travel nursing. So I did that for a little while. Worked at different places, some of the biggest hospitals. I did NYU, Mount Sinai, Presbyterian, and then went back to Michigan to be closer to home. So I worked at a level 1 trauma there in Detroit. Absolutely loved it. Then went back to New York, did a little bit more. And then I decided, well, you know what? I'm always naturally like coaching nurses, precepting, always educating them. So let me get my master's in education. So that's what I did.
Okay.
But then I struggled to get a nursing position in education.
Okay.
I kind of got faced with a little bit of pushback from some managers because I was always the one that was like always advocating, very passionate. And it was always taken as the wrong way. Like, you know, you're too direct, you know, you're too abrasive, you don't have soft skills. And I'm like, what? And I was like, I have a master's in education. I had all this experience, 3 certifications in emergency medicine, like trauma certified nurse, pediatric ER certified, and emergency nurse. And I still couldn't get it. But then I was very driven. I was like, it's going to happen. And I always promised myself that I would be a clinical instructor to empower nurses, because that's what I didn't have with that one instructor. So I worked real hard, and it took me 2 years, but then I actually, when you don't want to say it rains, it pours, I got both the clinical instructor position and an educator position at the same time.
Okay.
And I did both. And then I went into leadership and eventually became the director of education, which was like my dream job. And I loved it until they laid me off. So I did it for a while. I loved it. But then, you know, they were restructuring and all that. And I got laid off for a little bit. And then now I'm the director of a nursing program. But in the midst of that, I started my business in June of 2021 and decided, well, I'm always coaching and mentoring nurses. So this would be a great opportunity for me to start my own business and be able to give back on a bigger scale.
Okay.
And that's why I went with Farah Laurent International Nurse Coach. So, you know, I want to help nurses globally. And that's truly how I started this business and the journey to entrepreneurship. So that's in a nutshell my story.
I love it. I love it. And so, you know, we touched on a few things in there about, you know, wanting to be able to pursue more mentoring, more coaching of nurses, getting some pushback, and then finally being laid off. So what was it that really, you know, caused you to take that deep dive and just say, you know what, I'm just going to start my own business. I'm going to do this thing. What really drew you and caused you to formally once and for all step into entrepreneurship?
So I thought about it for a little while, and actually was still working at the time. And my biggest hesitancy to starting it was I knew that I would have to be visible and promote myself and be on social media. So my reservation was with the company that I was currently working with, because they're very strict about like, you couldn't get a second job and whatever. So my thoughts were like, well, if I'm all over the place and then they see me doing this, are they going to like come to me and talk to me about, you know, you can't do this. And I know a lot of nurses have that fear. So I think that was part of it, until I then decided to transition to the director role at another hospital. And I said, well, you know, there's no better time like the present. Let me just do it, because I thought about my kids. And I thought, you know, when you're a mom, I have small kids, they're now 2 and 6, but I wanted to have a more flexible schedule and be able to be there for them more and be more at home and work remotely. And I thought entrepreneurship will give me this as long as I stay committed to it. Eventually I will get there. So they're the biggest motivators for me. I think it's my kids, like most, right? Because you want to provide more stability and financial stability. And in my head, I think there is no job that is secure, right? We talk about job security, right? I'm sorry, even if you're in a union position, yes, you have maybe a little bit more security, but there's no job that is like 100% you're good, right?
Yes.
So entrepreneurship almost gives you that sense of control that you can control your life, control your career, and create what it is that you want. You have more financial freedom, more flexibility to your schedule, and that creativity piece that like you don't have to report to anybody, because who likes to report to people? I hate it.
Who wants people reporting to us, right? Yeah, let's.
But like, you know, you want to be able to do your own thing, make your own decisions, and be your own boss. So that's what attracted me to entrepreneurship. And the fact that I got laid off was like the fuel to the fire. I was like, I'm in this like 200%. Let's go, you know, because I got to do this. Like, there's no other choice. That's it.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, you hit on some really key areas there. And I have to share just a couple of quick stories when you talk about being laid off and the idea that financial stability, when we work for an employer today, it's just not there. Okay?
Exactly.
You know, when I first became a nurse, I mean, I've been in the game 32 years. I'm old.
No, you're experienced.
I'm vintage. Can we say vintage?
Vintage. Exactly.
But when I first became a nurse, you know, the vesting time for a retirement plan was 30 years. When I'd been a nurse for about 10 years, it went down to 7 years. And then it was 4 years. And it's like, wow, you know, that's a major statement on the stability of what's going on, right? The other thing was, within my first 6 years as an RN, I graduated in 1991. Within my first 6 years, I went through 6 mergers and acquisitions. Anytime I would advance in my career, it was like being thrown in the washing machine, and I would come out at square one of my career all over again. During some of that time, I was a single mom. You know, and it's just, you got to roll with the punches and do whatever happens. But for a woman who's been working 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 in a lesser paid role, right? Because that's how they usually compensate those roles. Suddenly to be forced to go back to the floor for 12-hour shifts. Okay, so I had somebody preschool age, and then, you know, how do I deal with them? How do I manage all of that? So I agree. When we work for ourselves, we create our own economies, our own family economies, and we also have control of our time. And that I think is huge. So thank you for hitting on that. So tell us all, how do you serve your clients?
Yeah, so basically it's a service-based business, right? So the majority of what I do is related to career coaching, guidance, right? And advancement. So sorry about the noise. It's the 2-year-old in the back.
Not hearing a thing on my end.
So it's mostly, right, career guidance. And most of my clients are new graduate nurses, but I also work with senior nursing students and experienced nurses. So what I do is we work a lot on resumes, cover letters, and interview skills. But as we know, it's much more than that, because it's really working with their mindset and transforming their mindset and getting them to be more confident, to present with confidence when they're interviewing, to promote themselves, and working on their personal branding, because a lot of nurses don't see themselves as a brand, but truly they are. So we work with that. And a lot of it, like I said, is that transformation. And they realize all the different opportunities that there are out there for them, and really promoting themselves to say, hey, listen, there's a nursing shortage. Like, they want you more than you need them. Like, I'm sorry to say, but like, nurses run healthcare. Okay. And yes, there's some issues and things like that, but we need to position ourselves a little bit more with, like, not to say like power, right? But we do, because we should be able to negotiate for more money and things like that. But for some reason, I felt like we have been fed this narrative as nurses that, like, you're in the business of caring for people. So like, you're not in it for the money, you're caring for people. But it's like, hello, we are giving one of the greatest services. We're saving people's lives, and we're putting our lives in danger.
Exactly.
So like, why shouldn't we ask for more money, right? But it's like, we get this thing like, well, you're not in it for the money, you're caring for people. And I think that's where we go wrong and why we're in the state that we're in nursing, because we don't ask for more. And we do deserve more. And that's why I get like so riled up when I think about it, because I feel like we deserve more money. And that's why like some nurses have difficulty transitioning into that business. And I had that same difficulty too with pricing and things like that, because you just think like, oh, are they going to pay for that? Or is it too much money? Right. Because we're not in that money mindset, but we should be, because most nurses are living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. And we need to get out of there. So, you know, back to your question is, that's really what I do, is I help empower them to make more money, promote themselves, and really just, you know, be confident and be badass nurses to get what they want so they can live the life that they deserve, their best life. So that's what it is.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely love it. And, you know, I think, well, number one, this is a new perspective. You're sharing with me a new perspective, and girl, I'm all in, because every nurse, we do have to recognize that we're a brand. Number one, how you might do nursing and how I might do nursing are two different things. Each of us has unique gifts, strengths, and talents, right? What I bring to the bedside, what you bring to the bedside is different, but equally valuable. Just like here's a travel nurse that's earning this wage per hour, and here's the staff nurse that's earning this. I would encourage every person interviewing for any traditional nurse role to say, what are you paying your travelers right now? I'd like to earn that wage.
Exactly. And I know it's funny because
why should I make less? Yeah.
I know it's funny because I was a travel nurse, but I wasn't making that much when I was traveling.
Same.
Pre-COVID. But it's funny, there's like these TikTok and different videos that say like, oh, okay, you know, can I get a raise? And then they're like, no, you can't. And then like the travel nurse comes in, like, well, this is my rate. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Because we need you, because we're desperate now, right? But it's like,
exactly,
you could have just paid that to your regular nurses, right? And it sounds funny, but like organizations don't get it. Yeah. They keep mistreating their nurses, not paying them correctly, and you know, all these other things which I don't want to get into. But and then they lose nurses. Yes. They wonder why. And then they keep trying to get new ones. And it's like you're spending more money than if you would have just nurtured the people that you have. And it's like it's a simple business concept, but it's like they're getting it all wrong. And it's like, like, what are you doing? Right. And you know, I think that's why we're in the state that we're in. And nurses are still getting laid off, which I don't understand. But this is why when I talk to the nurses my clients, I tell them like, don't listen to what recruiters are telling you. Recruiters are not, some of them are not nurses. Right. They're like, you need a year experience to get into this specialty. No, you don't. If there's a need and they can provide the training and education, why not hire a new grad into it? Like residency programs, even if there's not, you just create the education they need to bridge the gap. Have them be successful. And I'm like, if I was a manager, I would rather hire a new grad into any specialty because you shape them into what it is that they need to be. Instead of like putting them somewhere else and then now they have to retrain themselves on how to work somewhere.
Love that. Okay. Love that.
So yeah, that's kind of what, you know, they have to think a little bit like, you know, outside the box, like, you just have to find the right employer that's willing to see your value and go for it. Yeah.
And step up as nurse CEO. You know, we're all, even not-for-profit organizations, here's a big one of my soapboxes, not-for-profit organizations could not exist without what? Making a profit. They could not exist without making a profit. So nurses, it's okay to make money. It's okay to make great money. It's okay. You know, get out there and get out there and be you and own your worth. I mean, that is a huge, huge thing. I love what you're doing, girl. I love it. So what do you enjoy most about working for yourself?
So what I enjoy most, honestly, is, again, like having that freedom to do, my own scheduling when I do have that, that time to do it. And I just love being able to empower other nurses. Like when I work with them, I just see them light up. Like they're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, okay, I could do that. Oh, okay. And they're like, I feel like they transform. And I love seeing that transformation to like some of them being so shy to now owning it and being like, yeah, I am enough. I can do this. So seeing that confidence, that shift and that shift in mindset to me is exciting. And it's just, I'm excited about the profession because I feel like a lot of times people highlight the negatives of nursing, but I always try to bring out the positive aspects and show them the hope that there is for nursing. Sorry, stop. For nursing, and like highlight that there is so much more, and you don't have to be fed that narrative like this is the traditional role, you have to do this. You don't. You could do whatever it is that you want. There's a lot of nurses going into like nursing aesthetics, for example. I went to a conference in Atlantic City and I spoke there, and one of the nurses said, well, I want to go into being a nurse and these med spas and things like that, but should I go into the OR first? And I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, well, I guess I don't. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, just go get a job at a med spa doing what you want to do, like Botox or whatever it is.
Right. And
then you'll learn the game. And then when you're ready to start your own business, then you do that. But for some reason, they think they have to start in the hospital. So it's really changing their mind frame and thinking like you can do other things. Like you don't have to start where most tell you to start. Hey, mama, go play with Tristan. Sorry.
Hi. No problem. Well, I love that. I love that. And one of the other things that I see that happens a lot is nurses say, I'd like to start my own business, but I need more education. I need to go back to school before I can start my business. I need my master's or I need my DNP I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
Exactly.
If it's necessary for the business you want to start, then by all means go after it. But if it's not a credential requirement for what you want to do, you're probably just going to waste money. And what you need instead is a business coach.
Exactly. It's funny. I'm actually working with a client now. She has her MBA. Okay. And we were talking and she said, well, I want to start my own business. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called like life care planning or something like that, where they work with like law firms and attorneys and that. And she's like, well, I think I might have to go back and get a certificate and this and that. I'm like, well, you don't have to, because you have your MBA, you have the background, and you can start. Like, yes, is it nice to get that certification?
Yeah.
Great, but you don't need it. And I'm like, look at all these successful people that are in business, right? They don't necessarily have a college or university degree, right? Entrepreneurship is all about figuring it out and just doing it, right? And I think a lot of people, including myself, we do, especially nurses, like we do all this research.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, research things to death. It's like, yeah, okay, I got to do this and I got to do that. Okay. And then like, I'm going to plan it. Okay. And it's like, you never do it because you're still researching and you get stuck into this like overthinking. Just like when I first started, I was like, well, I need a brand, right? And I'm like, I didn't, know much about personal branding. And I was like obsessing about my brand colors and the logo. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yes, it does to a certain extent, but like you are the brand. Like,
exactly.
You just have to put yourself out there and be visible. So you don't necessarily, like you're saying, need to go to business school to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I think it's such a big statement. So I'm glad we hit that too. So now I've got a question for you, Miss Farah.
Yeah.
For all of the nurses that are out there right now who are maybe working at the bedside or in a clinic, who are feeling frustrated in their job, who are living paycheck to paycheck, who are saying, I just wish I wish I had more time with my family. I wish when I was with my family, I could really focus on my family, right? And be present for my family. I wish my work didn't make me feel like I had to choose between, work and my family sometimes. And I wish I had more balance in my life. I'd like to start a business. I don't know how. What advice would you give that nurse?
So number one, I always go back to, and it sounds cliche, but really it's not. You just go back to your purpose and back to your values. So I always feel like when you have purpose in life, you always have direction. You're always going to have direction. So you have to really like dig deep and see what it is that you truly want to do. And I don't really believe in, I don't think it'll be sustainable if you think, well, like, let me just start this business because it just makes money or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could work, right? But I feel like if you're not truly all in it and you don't have the passion for it and it doesn't align with your values and your purpose, it's going to fizzle out and it's not going to work. So I feel like you have to find what you're skilled at, what you like to do, and honestly solve a problem, right? What problem is there out there that you can solve? And nursing, we have so many great skills. We're experts in so many areas. We have a lot of, I can't even speak, a lot of knowledge, and we're very adaptable. If that's one thing that we are adaptable.
Yes.
So we have to just learn and adapt. And we are great learners, right? And that's what it is like with entrepreneurship. You learn things and we're great problem solvers and critical thinkers. So it's like you solve a problem, you take the nursing process. This is what I always say, you apply it to anything. You can apply it to business, right? So you think once you do the work and you dig in deep, you're like, okay, let's do an assessment. What's the issue? What am I good at? What can I solve? You diagnose it, you start planning, and then you go to it. Like literally, you can go to YouTube and figure out how to sign up for your own business, right?
Yeah.
Like everything is on YouTube. It literally takes like 2 days for you to open up a business, but it's not so much the opening up of it and like do the actual doing and opening up and registering your business, getting an EIN number. It's so easy. Yeah. But it's like, what is your plan? Because if you don't have a purpose, a plan, what are you solving? Who are you targeting? Like your business plan, then it's not going to go far. So you just have to have an idea and people have to want it, right? It has to be something that they want, right? It's like, yeah, just like education, right? It's like, yeah, I'm going to create this course. And I think this is what they need, right? But then you don't directly ask the learner what they want, just like in business. What do they need and what do they want? It's not so much what you think. You have to just see what the need is out there. So that's what I would say is like, find that purpose. What are you skilled and really good at? And that's what you do. And monetize off of it, right? Just charge them.
Exactly. And be okay with that. Be okay with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with money. I think, money is the root of all evil. There's all kinds of things we've been told about money, but good people who have money do good things.
Exactly.
And
and it's like, people are like, oh, if I won the lottery and, I don't know if I want to be rich and what? No, I'm good. Give me the money. Let me be rich and I'll deal with it. And it's like, you can do, like you said, so much more and help so many people when you do, because you can leverage that to help others, right? And I think mentorship is important. That's one big thing that I will say. Mentorship in anything is important, particularly in nursing. And you need to have multiple mentors, not just one. And invest in yourself. Like pay for coaches, pay for, a business class or go to a conference, right? The more you learn, the better you'll be professionally, personally, and in your business. Like it's just a constant game of learning and reinventing yourself. Like that's really all it is.
I love that. I love that. Great advice. know your purpose, have a plan, who you want to serve. It's the basics, just the basics. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And
Thank
for
you.
being here again, Miss Farah. It's just a joy to have you here. I'm just, it's a shame we haven't connected until now. I could obviously talk to you all day. So what I'd like to do now is give you the next few minutes to just tell our audience how they can connect with you, if there's any special offers or anything that you have that you want to share. But the floor is yours. I want you to just share a little bit more with our audience about your business and how they can connect with you.
Awesome. Well, exciting news today is actually the day of my website launch. So my my website is Nurse Farah, 1R, so FARAH.com. So it just launched today. So you can go there and check it out and see all the different services that I provide. So I do one-on-one coaching with nurses. I also do a group coaching program and this mentorship program that I'll have. And I'm working on a course currently about basically like the art of interviewing and how to interview. So once that's done, it'll also be available on the website. And if you would like me to speak at an event, you could go to my website and fill out the form there. And what else? The NNBA, I'll be at the NNBA conference and I'll be speaking there in August. So excited about that. Mm-hmm. I also have my own LinkedIn show called The Nursing Dose with Farah. And if you typed it in on YouTube, you could check it out. I interview different people and I also discuss different topics about career success and things like that. And then you can link to it from my website as well. So I think that's mainly it. And I also am a writer. I just became a contributor to Minority Nurse. So I have a couple different articles there that you could check out. So yeah, so if you have any, questions for me, definitely just touch base with me on LinkedIn or on my website. That's where I'm most active. So yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. This has been so much fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. And so for our viewers out there, again, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Nurse Entrepreneur Spotlight. Farah, I want to thank you again for sharing some time with us today and all of this wonderful information. I think this has been a very inspiring interview, and I hope that it gives those, so much of what you said, I hope it gives nurses the opportunity to really think on the idea. You don't have to feel stuck in your position, whether you choose to stay in traditional nursing, hang out your own shingle as an entrepreneur. Really, you've got control of the game. And I think that's such a powerful, powerful message. So I want to thank you again for joining us and sharing that inspiration. For everybody else, this is the end of this episode. We will see you next time on the Nurse Entrepreneur Spotlight. Thank you.
Thank you so much.